While every other channel is fighting for your customers' attention, podcasts are where they've already given it. No one accidentally listens to a podcast for 45 minutes. They choose to be here. They trust the voice in their ears, and when that voice talks about your brand, it doesn't sound like advertising. It sounds like a recommendation from a friend. Acast gives you that trust at scale. Digital precision, host-read authenticity, and performance data that proves it worked. Don't fight for attention. Buy it with Acast. Learn more by visiting acast.com/advertise.
7 things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Sunday 7.
I'm Ciara Ravens in for Jamie East this week, and on today's episode of the award-winning Sunday 7, we find out why Taylor Swift is battling AI, learn more about the fascinating Venus flytrap, and meet Colombia's cocaine hippos. Plus, Will Guyatt, the Smart 7's resident tech guru, gives us the latest on Elon Musk's court battle with Sam Altman and tells us why Lidl might have a surprise in the middle aisle. If you're enjoying our episodes, please do like and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We're here 7 days a week at 7 a.m. with the 7 biggest stories on the Smart 7 in association with Metro. Before we get started, though, it was on this day in 1968 that Dr. Denton Cooley performed the first ever successful heart transplant in the United States. The patient, Everett Thomas, had a heart that had been damaged by rheumatic heart disease and received a donated heart from a 15-year-old girl. He went on to survive for a further 204 days. There's no question about it, artificial intelligence will be one of the most significant developments of the 21st century. We've had previous tech bubbles around the metaverse and virtual reality, but the speed and pace of AI development and its adoption feels like it's almost unstoppable. While big tech argues over new models and the ethical questions around it, companies like Google, Microsoft and Meta are charging ahead with the integration of AI into every facet of the user experience. But there were many unanswered questions about how society will cope with this rapid expansion of a potentially transformative tool. Will it lead to job losses? What is the impact on creativity? One of the biggest music artists, Taylor Swift, is in the headlines this week, in part because of her latest strategy to defend her image and output against AI. She spoke to the New York Times as part of their American Songwriters series, explaining her songwriting process and introducing the world to the concept of rant bridges, which are key moments in songs like Mirror Ball.
The Mirror Ball bridge, this was Jack sending me a track during COVID and me immediately knowing that it needed to be about how I felt as a performer and an entertainer within this moment when entertainment and art has effectively shut down. I'm still gonna stand on this tightrope. I'm still up on the trapeze. I'm still gonna try to do tricks for you. But at the same time, being a person in the public eye, I've really begun to realize that you are a mirror. Like, you are a mirror for your fans, for the media, for people on the internet, for just people who don't even really care about your music, but they know who you are. However they feel about themselves and their life will be projected onto how they perceive you.
She comes across as incredibly passionate about the art and craft of songwriting, and she's also in the news as she filed 3 patents, 2 audio and 1 visual, in an attempt to protect her identity from AI. Will Guyatt will explain more on that shortly, but it's clear that creative artists are feeling real pressure from the large language models that are trained on human creations. Phoebe Lunny of punk group Lambrini Girls spoke to Channel 4 News this week about how creators are feeling as AI continues its advance.
AI in general is going to be the thing that kills art entirely. I wouldn't say there's much which is redeeming about the human condition, but being creative and critical thinking and making music and writing is something which I think we do beautifully.
Only last year we saw a group of over 1,000 artists, including Kate Bush, Sam Fender and Damon Albarn, release a blank album as a protest against AI's use of their creativity to power its output. They were calling for more protection under copyright law for their original works, but AI is moving at such pace it feels like that may not be enough. With the addition of advances in robotics, AI also seems to be pushing into the performance space with a strange event this week in Hong Kong, where humanoid robot Sophy, who was powered by AI, performed with a real-life classical music orchestra. On the plus side, she's not very good at it.
I work with my music coach, Yovanka, and collaborate with many different musicians on my music.
I don't want you to be afraid. I can see you shine. I can see you shine so
It's been a strange week in the world of tech, with new jobs for robots, a monster legal battle between two monster egos, and a surprising new addition to the middle aisle. To make it all make sense, it's time to turn to the Smart 7's tech guru, Will Guyatt, who has all the latest on this week's big news. Hey Will, we've just been chatting about Taylor Swift and the prospect of AI eating the world of art. What's your take on it?
This stuff is moving really quickly and is totally unregulated. And just because artificial intelligence can do something doesn't mean it should be able to do it. The world's most famous figures are those who've had every part of their digital being in existence hoovered up by AI models. And that means the deepfakes and creations you can create with an unscrupulous chatbot and prompt related to Taylor Swift are way more realistic than the ones of me being chased by a bear through the supermarket.
Taylor made headlines when she filed 3 very specific patents this week. What is she trying to do?
Her legal team are playing 9-dimensional chess with existing laws and structures, hoping they will apply and either stop companies from allowing people to use her likeness or give them the ammo they need to go into battle in court if she's suddenly promoting a double glazing business from Stoke. Her team have filed trademarks for her voice using 2 clips of Taylor promoting the Eras tour and her likeness via a short video clip from the Eras tour itself. By doing this, lawyers hope they will successfully be able to argue that her likeness is being used in any AI-generated deepfake, simply if it looks like or sounds like her. And this is pretty clever really, because it will take legislators years to come up with actual laws to tackle unsolicited deepfakes, and in the case of really famous people, lawyers for the other side would simply be claiming it's all part of the cost of being famous. It's sad that you have to be one of the world's richest entertainers to legally protect yourself like this.
Honourable mention too for the Law 360 blog, right? What was their headline on the story?
Their story was headlined, "Look What You Made Her Do," which Dr. Google informs me was a popular Taylor Swift tune in 2017. I learn something new every time I pitch up on the Sunday 7.
Aside from Taylor, we had a clash of the titans when it came to big tech and big law this week. Who is facing off in the court of law?
Like the iconic Pat Butcher and Peggy Mitchell-off EastEnders in a brawl over the Queen Vic or Frank Butcher, longtime friends and now big-time enemies Sam Altman and Elon Musk have been airing their grievances in a Californian court, and there's been some absolute gems. The judge essentially telling Elon Musk to shut up and get to the point. The judge has also had to order everybody to calm down on multiple occasions too. Classic courtroom scenes.
This is the long-running beef about OpenAI and whether or not it should be making money.
Yes, exactly, and Elon Musk threw a load of lawsuits at Sam Altman, and this was the one that stuck. He's contesting that him and others helped found OpenAI to enable the world to experience the benefit of AI and spread it far and wide, not turn it into a huge business. It's supposed to remain as a charity or a not-for-profit. However, it's interesting though that this case gets to court around exactly the same time as Musk himself is trying to turn his ex-AI company, which includes Grok, into a huge business as part of SpaceX. Neither Musk or Altman are on many people's Christmas card lists, so it's hard to know really who's attempting to screw who in this legal fight right now.
Elon doesn't sound like he made a great star witness.
Tech blog The Verge described Musk as his own worst enemy at this court case. At various points he's got frustrated as he's realising he can't rule the courtroom like he does the rest of his life. He's been asked by the judge to stop talking about AI causing extinction because it's not relevant to the case. He's been told to answer questions with shorter answers too, as he's been steadfastly refusing to give simple yes or no answers. Oh boy.
This week also saw AI creeping into the real world. What should I be watching out for if I'm on a flight to Tokyo?
Keep an eye out for humanoid robots helping out the baggage handlers at Tokyo's Haneda Airport over the next couple of years, as Japan Airlines are kicking off a 2-year trial. This comes as Japanese tourism is soaring amidst a labour shortage in the country. The Chinese-made humanoid robots will move travellers' luggage and cargo on the tarmac at Haneda, which handles over 60 million passengers a year. Given that human baggage handlers can capably smash anything up, let's see what damage the robots can do.
And finally, I think we're over the obsession with giant phones, but tell me more about the Lidl phones.
Well, the budget supermarket Lidl hasn't yet launched its own phone, but I'm pretty sure they will, and it's going to be blue and yellow in their trademark colours, just you bet. Instead though, they've announced a new budget mobile network. The company says it's aiming to undercut the 4 big UK networks, and it will use what's known as a virtual network, which means it will piggyback on one of those big 4 networks. So essentially you could get the same service for less money. Apparently it's going to launch as an eSIM only, which is digital for modern phones like the latest iPhones, and you'll be able to manage it via the Lidl Plus loyalty app, which regularly surprises me with a free pastry when I visit my local. Nice one.
Are the prices really small?
Really little.
Still to come this Sunday 7 in association with Metro, we discover how biojet fuel is made and learn more about Venus flytraps. Donald Trump's presence in the White House has had many unexpected and not necessarily positive impacts on the world, and it will take some time for the impact of things like his health policies and environmental policies to be felt in the real world. His violent dislike of wind farms has seen the US turn away from renewable energy at a time when fossil fuel prices are under extreme pressure because of Donald's decision to start a war with Iran. The blockade of the Strait of Hormuz has seen the price of oil rise dramatically, and in particular has sparked a shortage of jet fuel, which could see airlines cancel flights this summer. So it's the perfect time for a sustainable alternative to jet fuel, one made with more environmentally friendly elements, as CEO of global BioFuels company EcoCeres, Matti Lievonen, explained this week.
Instead of fossil fuel, we are using bio residuals like waste oil or like a used cooking oil, like animal fat, fish fat. We develop ourselves, the catalyst, who is taking impurities out. It's not the one feedstock. There is a lot of different feedstock, very dirty feedstock. So we have this pre-treatment technology. All those things together make us very special. Also, you have a yield, how much you could produce out of those waste SAF. You take the used cooking oil, you get 85% sustainable aviation fuel out there. And if you take the normal jet fuel, that's a carbon. You release the carbon when you're producing and burn it that in the engine. So we are taking the biomass. So it will save up to 90% of greenhouse gas emission. That's a big thing.
Fossil fuel pollution is not the only concern, as this week saw a preliminary hearing at the High Court for what is billed as the UK's biggest ever legal claim over pollution. More than 4,500 campaigners have joined forces to take a case against a chicken producing company and Welsh Water over claims of pollution in the rivers Wye, Lug and Usk. The campaigners say that discharges from the company have damaged the waterways and that Welsh Water hasn't done enough to deal with the pollution. But Welsh Water and the food company have denied the claims, and in the High Court on Monday, presiding Judge David Cook expressed doubts that the case as it is could proceed to trial. Nathan Jubb is a Gillie who manages salmon fishing along a stretch of the River Wye and says whatever the outcome of the case, something needs to be done to save the river.
On a good year, if we didn't have the algae conditions, we'd still probably be looking at 50, 60 fish. It's totally the conditions that are killing us, and that's due to what's going in the river.
Does it have to be human? Does it have to be mine?
That's the iconic little shop of horrors, which featured a supersized Venus flytrap that took an unpleasant turn. While the real-life Venus flytraps aren't anywhere near as big as the stage version, they are carnivorous plants that make them a relative rarity in the world of botany. And you might assume that the distinctive fly-catching plant lives in some exotic jungle, but you'd be wrong. In fact, they are native to the states of North and South Carolina in the US. The plants are under threat and local authorities are working on a strategy to protect them. Botanist Julie Moore specialises in the Venus flytrap, which is surprisingly small in real life. And she spoke to CBS News this week about why the plant is at risk.
It used to be the threat was people thought poaching, stealing fly traps and shipping them all over the world. That was the big threat. Well, not anymore. It's housing developments, new roads, just more people.
Damon Wade is director of North Carolina's Botanical Gardens, and he says it's crucial that the flytrap is protected.
Darwin called it the most interesting plant in the world. To me, it's like the panda of the plant world. It's rare, it's interesting, it's charismatic. Darwin thought it could be an animal. He thought it might have been the transition between the plant and the animal world. They always grow in very nutrient-poor areas like bogs and savannas. And so they're compensating for the lack of nitrogen in the soil by getting it from the insects that they eat.
Still to come on the Sunday 7 in association with Metro, we find out more about how standards are set and we meet Colombia's cocaine hippos.
Right after this.
With VerboCare, help is always ready. Before, during, and after your stay. We've planned for the plot twists, so support is always available. Because a great trip starts with peace of mind.
Do you keep hearing podcast ads, like this one, for example, but always wonder how you actually get involved with them for your own brand or organization? Well, it's easier than you think. We're Acast, and we give you the platform to do it all yourself. Browse thousands of popular podcasts, choose the shows that match your perfect audience, set your budget, and launch. And if you want a hand, our podcast specialists are there to help you launch with confidence. This is podcast advertising without barriers. Get started at acast.com/advertise.
Welcome back.
Radiohead fans will be familiar with their iconic song Fake Plastic Trees, but this week on the Sunday 7 we're delighted to bring you a real-life version of fake moss on trees. Scientists at Imperial College have been investigating the moss or lichens found on tree trunks, and they think they might have huge potential. The crusty growth that you can find on rocks or in trees is actually a curious concoction which uses carbon dioxide and light to create a mix of potentially useful chemicals. Now at the Imperial College's lab, they're experimenting with creating synthetic versions of those lichens, which could have huge potential once they come out of the park and into the science lab. Rodrigo Ledesma Amaro is a professor of engineering biology at Imperial College, and he explains what they're hoping to create.
So it's a symbiotic relationship between a photosynthetic organism, a cyanobacteria or algae, and a fungus. And they work together. One gets the CO2 and light, transform it into nutrients, and the fungus use those nutrients to create like the structure and the house where they live. The interesting thing is that those organisms, to be able to produce those things in space, they need to be fed. They need food, and those nutrients that they need are not usually found commonly. For example, yeast needs sugar to make those products. But now with cyanobacteria, we can use CO2 and light to make the sugars that yeast can use to make those products.
You probably don't notice, but many other products in your life have a particular symbol on them, or at least they should. It's a distinctive kite mark of the British Standards Institution, which is a sort of heart-shaped symbol which includes a B and an S. That means that the product you're using has been approved, independently tested and passed by a panel of experts for quality, reliability and safety. And in a world of internet shopping where products don't always match up to expectations, it's actually pretty important. This year marks 125 years of the BSI, and Anne Hayes, Director of Standards at the BSI, joins us on the Sunday 7 to discuss how it all works.
So we are a Royal Charter organisation, and our role here is appointed by government to be the national standards body for the UK. And what that involves us doing is working with lots of experts across every subject you can possibly imagine to develop and maintain standards that enable trade, that enable prevention of harm, risk management across every industry and sector that you can imagine. And we do that by bringing groups of people together. No one party dominates, so we have to have a completely balanced group of people who come together to develop standards.
So the BSI is responsible for all kinds of things, including, for example, a 3-pin plug design that is the envy of the world. But it goes deeper than that.
We've got a good plug, a 3-pin plug, but it's incredibly important. And actually what's really important is it's not ever dominated by one group. So it's not just the manufacturers of, let's say, 3-pin plugs. It's not just the manufacturers of products that will use the 3-pin plug, but actually importantly, it's got consumer voice in there as well. And that's really where, when you come on to a lot of the challenges that we're dealing with today around AI, around online harm, around sort of use of online technology, actually that's where you really want to have the full room of people that have very different views so that you can reach consensus and agree what the best way forward is.
So as the British Standards Institution celebrates 125 years, what are some of the things that it's responsible for that we might not know about?
The easiest one that everybody will be familiar with is credit card size. So the fact that wherever you are, in whichever country, using whichever bank or financial services you may be using, your credit card is the same size and will fit into every hole in the wall there is. So I think that's a really simple one. But then there are some really important ones whereby pen tops, it became apparent that children in particular, who are not always known for their common sense, actually would swallow pen tops and then potentially choke. So actually a really simple change in design, which was agreed with by a standard, was to put a hole in the top to make sure that there was always an airway to try and ensure that we minimise that risk if it ever happened. And those are the sorts of things we just take for granted. We just think it's going to work across multiple different countries or domains or technologies, and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes you do need a standard that enables that to happen. This year we're seeing a standard on modern slavery, which started in the UK, which is how organisations can try and embed practices within themselves so that they don't use modern slavery or forced labour in any way. That's now started as a British standard, is now becoming an ISO. And the other one that I would highlight is something we've done on menopause and menstrual health, which is really trying to support women in the workplace. So the UK, I would say, punched well above its weight in the contribution it makes to global standards. And I think it's a real positive plus for BSI that over its 125 years, it's got itself into that position. And the UK is well respected in the world of standards.
And where can people find out more?
So it's bsigroup.com and put in the subject you want to know about in there, and hopefully it'll come back with a standard. But if it doesn't, tell us what you want to know and we will pick it up and see what we can do with it.
Hippos are curious creatures. They're incredibly short-sighted and considered one of the most dangerous animals in the world due to their aggressive and unpredictable nature. They're particularly dangerous in water as they are both territorial and able to move at great speed. However, they are native to sub-Saharan Africa, which makes the fact that Colombia has a wild hippo problem all the more intriguing. There are about 200 wild hippos who are descended from pets kept by arguably the world's most famous drug lord, Pablo Escobar. The problem is that they are breeding at a phenomenal rate, and without any natural predator, the population could reach 500 by 2030. So the government has been planning a cull, but Colombian Senator Andrea Padilla thinks that's not fair on the cocaine hippos.
This is a legacy left to us by a drug trafficker, hitman and murderer. So how can it be that we're going to close this chapter in the same way, by shooting the hippos?
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend. Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.
With VerboCare, help is always ready. Before, during, and after your stay. We've planned for the plot twists, so support is always available. Because a great trip starts with peace of mind.
While every other channel is fighting for your customers' attention, podcasts are where they've already given it. No one accidentally listens to a podcast for 45 minutes. They choose to be here. They trust the voice in their ears, and when that voice talks about your brand, it doesn't sound like advertising. It sounds like a recommendation from a friend. Acast gives you that trust at scale. Digital precision, host-read authenticity, and performance data that proves it worked. Don't fight for attention. Buy it with Acast. Learn more by visiting acast.com/advertise.